like to call to order this meeting of the Maine Township Board today, Tuesday, December 28th, our monthly meeting. Would everyone like to please stand and say the pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, can you please have a roll call?
Assessor Pry, Highway Commissioner Bouvet. Here. Clerk Giuliano is here. Supervisor Diamond.
Here.
Trustee Jones.
Here.
Trustee Horvath.
Here.
Trustee Maher.
Here.
Trustee Malik.
All right, we'll start off with our agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of November 28th? Board meeting on that night.
Motion to approve the minutes of November 28th, 2023 board meeting. Second.
Any comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Supervisor Diamond.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Horvath.
Yes.
Trustee Maher.
Yes.
Trustee Malik.
Yes.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the general assistance expenditures?
I'll make a motion to approve payroll for pay dates December 8th, 2023 and December 22nd, 2023, and general assistance checks number 55191 through check number 55234 in the amount of $29,824.16.
Second.
Any comments on that motion?
I did say.
I'm sorry, you can do a second, okay. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Diamond.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Horvath.
Yes.
Trustee Maher.
Yes.
Trustee Malik.
Yes.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the road district expenditures?
I'll make a motion to approve payroll for pay dates of December 8th, 2023 and December 22nd, 2023, and road district checks number 23185 through check number 23227 in the amount of $84,150.71.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Roll call?
Supervisor Diamond.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Horvath.
Yes.
Trustee Maher.
Yes.
Trustee Malik.
Yes.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve the general town fund expenditures.
Motion to approve payroll for pay dates of December 8th, 2023 and December 22nd, 2023, and general town fund check 60688 through check number 60744 in the amount of $278,056.11.
Second.
Hey, did I hear a second? Okay. All right. Any comments? Roll call.
Supervisor Diamond.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Horvath.
Yes.
Trustee Maher.
Yes.
Trustee Malik.
Yes.
All right. Are there any requests for public participation? No. All right. Thank you. All right. We'll go on to our next item, old business. Last month I discussed the Illinois Treasurer's Illinois funds and just gave you some little information on it. Tonight we have a speaker from the Illinois Treasurer's Office, I believe, Mr. Thomas Gary, is that right?
Yes.
Do you need a minute, sir, to set up have you brought a PowerPoint with you? And if so,
Yes.
did you want to set it up?
Sure.
Did you-
Do you have a flash drive or do you have it just on your laptop? Would that give us a second? Yeah,
Okay.
figure that out, okay? You don't have to have a flash drive with you, do you?
All right. Now, while you two are setting that up, I think maybe we'll go to the next item and then circle back to you. That's all right. All right.
Lane, okay, your flash drive real quick? Yes, give it a try.
Sure.
All right. The next item is discussion and possible vote on the skylight repair work. And I see Mike is here. Mike, would you like to give us an update on where we are with the skylight expenditure?
Good evening, everyone. So last we talked, I was going to reach out to the other company that we did not go with. And both companies, Line Roofing as well as the other company that I looked into, both of them had a concern about the warranty and covering windows that are 20 plus years old was one of the issues. As well as obviously at this point, the weather's, not on our side. It looks like we're not really going to be getting, even though these last few days it was in the 50s, but it's not, I don't know what the future is with the forecast, but I think at this point it's probably best just maybe go back to the drawing board in March and April as it gets a little bit nicer outside and, just try to get a few more companies in there to see if they're willing to go ahead and do it. So that's where we're at.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so the problem was with, they didn't want to sign off on a warranty because they weren't providing new windows, and they were just trying to repair the old ones. Is that
Right, just in case it does leak again or anything. The one contractor said that the material that they have is about all they would guarantee, but then if they leak, I don't know how that really would work, how to prove that it's the material or anything like that. So like I said, two companies kind of stepped back and away from that.
Did either of them give you an idea that you had to replace the windows? What sort of cost that would be?
Not yet, I got
I
it,
just-
yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, I would think quite a bit.
Yeah.
Did either one of them say they would give you a warranty limited to workmanship as opposed to the product?
As of now, not yet. I can speak with the other company. I can speak with both companies about it, and like I said, just make additional phone calls as it warms up and everything to speak to them about that.
All right, well, I suppose we could kick it over for now. And I don't want to forget about it, so I'm just going to probably put it on the agenda for next month, and perhaps you can tell us whether or not they'll warranty just the labor, and we can then move forward with one or the other.
Okay.
There's two of them, right?
I've got two of them right now.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to add to that?
That is it.
Okay, all right, okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And anyone else have any questions about it here?
The question you had, why wouldn't a reputable contractor warrant the workmanship? Because in case they do a sloppy job, we're not going to come back and do it again. So makes no sense.
And that's why I caught the tail end of it, I'm sorry. I think that's why I was even saying about, I can reach out to these two, but I can also just start looking into other companies as well to see if they would actually look at the addendum. It's just because to turn it down, you try other ones.
Yeah, maybe they're unclear on what those words mean, warranty. I mean, they're frightened by the word warranty.
Right.
I just want you to guarantee that the sealant is going to work, and you're not going to, just if it doesn't work, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's not just the windows, it's the,
Material.
who's applying the sealant.
Right. So, like I said, I can reach out to the last two, talk to them about that, but also look into just other companies as well. Okay. Alrighty, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. How's it going?
We're saving the flash right now.
Oh, and then you'll, okay, fine. Let's just take a couple more minutes, or?
What do you think?
Well, we could move on to the next item and circle back. The next item is discussion and possible vote on the paid leave for all act policy. So we've discussed this in the past, this new law which has been passed in the state of Illinois, which requires us to pay our part-time employees some paid leave too. And we discussed it at the last meeting and was instructed at that time to draft a policy which would give our employees actually a little bit more than they would have been entitled to under the Act. That is, the part-time employees will earn 1 hour of paid leave for every 38 hours they work. And that sort of was governed by, or the thinking is that our part-time employees generally work 38 hours every pay period. So that's where that came from. So we have now in front of us a resolution, and if you are interested in it, I also had copies made of the act itself. If you want a copy of that, you have it there. Do I have a motion then to pass this resolution to allow the accrual of paid leave by part-time employees. Is there any such motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all right. So now I'd like to know if there's any questions about this policy or additional comments regarding it. We did talk about it a couple times. This is something we knew was coming, and we really don't have a choice about it in general. The only thing we really had a choice about was if we're going to do it every 38 hours or every 40 hours. All right. Not hearing any questions or comments so far. I will ask for a roll call.
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Horvath?
Yes.
Trustee Maher?
Yes.
Trustee Malik?
Yes.
All right, thank you all. All right, how are we doing over there?
I think we're good.
Good, good, okay, fine. All right, let me back up by saying that, just sort of in general, why I've asked Mr. Thomas Gary to be here tonight from the Illinois Treasurer's Office. When we first came into office here, interest rates were pretty low. That was like 2.5 years ago or so. They were really relatively low at that time. And at that time, I wasn't immediately concerned about how much interest we were earning on our funds because rates were pretty low. But now that rates have gone up, I'm starting to think we really need to make our money work harder for us. We need to get the best interest rates that we can. And I looked around. The first thing we did was we put some of our funds, not just in the checking account, but in the money market, where they earn a little bit more at Parkway, but still not that much. So another alternative was to look around at banks in the area, which we did, at CDs, which would give you a higher rate, but you have to lock in your money for a period of time, which is good, but it's hard to pick, how much should you put in, and how long should you lock it in, and so forth and so on. So when I was at the toy conference with the rest of you in November, I went to the booth that was sponsored by Illinois Funds and got some information there and learned that they will pay a very competitive interest rate and you don't have to lock in your money for a long period of time. So that seemed very attractive. I gave you a little bit of information about this last time and, directed you to the website too. But Mr. Gary is here tonight to just sort of give us an overview and to answer any questions that, lingering questions that you might have.
Sure.
So, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Diamond. Good evening. My name is Thomas Gary, Director of the Illinois Funds and ePay programs with the State Treasurer's Office. Just as a introduction, I am not necessarily unfamiliar with the community here, the communities here. I was a former trustee for Triton College, so I sat where you sit. I was a former county board member, county commissioner downstate in DeKalb County as well, so I certainly understand the imperatives that drive decision-making with regard to how to make sure your money's working hard for you. If I can, though, say that when as a board, when as an organization, you're thinking through these things, obviously you have an investment policy that you review. I believe you guys have reviewed yours earlier this year. But you want to take into consideration more than just whatever the current yield is. You don't want to what's called yield chase, because you may find yourself standing in an incorrect position based on what is happening in the market. In fact, we received many calls back in springtime when several regional banks found themselves in trouble because in many cases they were in fact yield chasing in that low interest rate environment. They were looking for things that seemed safe. Silicon Valley Bank, I think, was the most infamous. They had $21 billion in cash that they needed to make sure was locked up safely. So they invested the safest thing they could find, which was 30-year treasury notes. That was great in 2019. 2022, when interest rates started moving up, they found themselves exactly in the wrong position because they had invested money that they really needed short term. They had invested long term. And so they were stuck. And when they opened the books, gee, you're going to need to move some of that into something more liquid. Just prior to what ended up becoming what I think is referred to in It's a Wonderful Life as a bank run. So this fund, our Illinois funds, is what's called a local government investment pool. Local government investment pools have been set up by many states. About 40 states have their own local government investment pools. The first one was established by the state of Connecticut in 1971. Illinois established ours in 1975. So we're one of the oldest. We'll be celebrating our 50th year coming up a little more than a year from now. Am I doing this right?
Can we,
Other way.
excuse me, can we,
Should
tilt it
the-
for you a little bit? We can't see the board. You can move it out, please. Thank you.
There you go.
That's much
And then you're
better.
gonna just want to sign over here, turn this in.
Oh, okay, all right.
We can see you
And
better
then
too.
you could just move the laptop, because,
So it's-
Or maybe move it.
There you go.
or just move that out a
If
little
you
more.
could move it over this way a
This way.
little bit.
I'm just gonna keep moving when someone tells me to.
Thank you.
Okay,
Now we can
so
see
we're
the
gonna go.
three
Is that better?
D again.
Yeah, you guys?
That's
I don't know
better.
if they, it doesn't even.
Can everybody see it? Okay. Thank you.
You can see your stuff, you want to see?
Oh, yeah, no, no.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, thank you. So the priorities, which are laid out both in our own investment policy statement, which we publish on the website, as well as laid out in state statute. First priority is safety before anything else. Second priority is liquidity. Well, much like 30-year treasury, there's no point in having money put in a safe instrument. You can't have access to it because property tax bills were mailed out late. Or there was a snowstorm and you have a whole bunch of salt and overtime to pay this month. So having something placed in a safe instrument isn't enough when you also need to think about having access to liquidity and competitive yield. Now, in any investment environment, those three things are working in competition. If you're doing it right, you'll get 2 out of the 3, but you'll probably have to sacrifice one in order to get the other 2. You'll have to give up a little liquidity if you want competitive yield. You have to give up a little safety if you want to be liquid and competitive. So we do what we can and to ensure that you all, as participants, local governments, the 1,500 or so local governments that are participants in the fund and have been, like I said, since the 70s, want to make sure that you have access to those funds, and you do have access to those funds same day, as long as you give us a call before the close of the market. But you'll have access to whatever funds you put in $1, you get out $1, plus whatever interest you've earned. But to provide a level of security to you as a participant, we've also made sure that we have gone to the ratings agencies to say, hey, evaluate us, evaluate our books. We're not regulated by the SEC. The LGIPs as an asset class are not regulated by the SEC. But many of them are structured like we are to be money market-like funds, 2A7-like funds. So we have to follow many of the same requirements in terms of making sure we meet not just statutory, but also creditworthiness to ensure that there's a level of liquidity standards, that the things that we're investing in are in fact creditworthy as well. And we've received a AAA rating continuously since 1996, again, providing to you all as participants, as fiduciaries for the public, as a level of security that your money's held in an instrument that is, that you know you'll have your money when you're looking for your money. So just to give a sense of the cycle, now that we've gone through some of the big picture issues, you all, local governments, taking your revenues from whatever mechanism, whether it's University of Illinois through tuition, whether it's Secretary of State's office through various fees, license fees and the like, whether it's a school district that's pulling in revenues from whether bond revenues or property tax revenues. However they're bringing in the revenues, working through their cash management procedures to understand, okay, we know what we have this month, we know what bills we need to pay, we know how much cash we'll need this month, we know how much we'll need next month. Whatever's left, let's put that money to work. Invest that with Illinois funds. We take that money, pool it with all of the other participants' monies, and buy various securities to ensure that we're able to bring back a level of liquidity with a competitive yield that you can be assured that because of the safety, that when you need that money next month or next week or next year, that money is there for you for whatever project. That money is then recycled back through in the form of net income, comes back into the pool. A couple of issues or benefits that we'd like to think that the fund, because it's a money market-like fund, doesn't compete with local banks or local banking relationships. So that way, you're not pulling all of your money out of the local Parkway Bank and throwing it in here. You still have however many accounts you need to operate your day-to-day operations. This is simply to hold your money, hold part of your money for these investment needs. The investments themselves. Again, they could be overnight. It could be for a long term. You may have a fund, you want to set up just a capital fund, just for equipment. Because you know you're going to be buying highway equipment. And you know in 3 years, well, we'll need $300,000. You have $300,000 right now, but rather than sitting in cash, because you understand the time value of money, you're going to lose money sitting in the bank simply because of inflation. Set that money aside. Hold it with us. It will earn interest. The day you make that deposit, it's earning interest that day. That interest doesn't get applied until the end of the month, but it's earning interest the day it's deposited. Another question, it's a long-standing question. This is your money. You put in 10,000, you put in $1 million, 10 million, who cares? This is your money. This is not the state treasurer's money. This is not the governor's money. It's not the General Assembly's money. This is your money. This money cannot be swept into any General Assembly issue, or it cannot be swept by the governor's office. This belongs to Maine Township. Another thing to think about when you're evaluating different funds is the cost of maintaining the investment relationship. Some funds will say, well, sure, you can put in money, we'll hold it for you, we'll get you a great rate, but you need to make a minimum of $1 million of deposit, or you need to hold $1 million balance. Or they'll say, sure, you want to get the money today, that's fine, you need the money tomorrow, great. We'll have to charge you a fee for redeeming when we weren't prepared for it. Or they may charge, rather than a fee, they may say, we're going to need a couple of days. They may put a date. We need a couple of days just to get that cash for you. You don't have that issue with the Illinois funds, and any payments that you get, again, whether it's revenue that you're collecting right outside, or if they're disbursements that are coming from the county treasurer or the state comptroller, can be direct deposited directly into your Illinois funds account. You don't need to wire from the comptroller down to your bank and then from your bank over to Illinois funds, taking extra time. So some of the numbers will change. I was working on it today. Some of the numbers are updated as of the end of November. Other numbers will be as of the end of September or the end of the fiscal year. But as of the end of November, we had about $18 billion with net interest income of nearly $1 billion for the calendar year. Our net yield is about 5.5%, but again, that's for your information. I wouldn't focus on that. When you're going through and evaluating, don't get caught up on that. Understand how an organization gets to that, what their process is, but this is less important than some of the other issues, especially with regards to public monies. Okay, let's see the stress. Turn the page. No, turn the page. Whoa, how did I get that far back? Okay. So again, end of FY, back in June, we were a little bit, had a little bit more money, but the size of the portfolio month to month may change simply because of whether it's our largest participant is actually the state of Illinois itself. The state of Illinois itself has nearly $10 billion of that $19 billion. So if there are accounts that, for whatever reason, state accountants need to move money back and forth, they'll move it out of one of their accounts. As I mentioned, there are over 1,500 local governments that are engaged with the fund, and I did some calculation, just ballpark. If you had put $10 million into Illinois funds, just left it there, back on December 31st, 2022, last year, you'd have $500,000 in interest income. Now, you have $10 million just lying about, I don't know. That's obviously something for you all as you go through your evaluations. But just thinking through some of these issues, you'll also want to think about, or at least having a grounding of your cash forecast. Looking over the course of the next year, every month, over the next year or so, well, gee, how much money we're going to need this month? How much money we're going to need next month? How much money will we need after that? And how much cash will we have available for that? Then we can take the rest and apply that much more actively. Let's see. Anything else I want to note on here? No. I also took a look at some of the local governments in our area right now. We have about 40 total local governments that have some level of jurisdiction here in Maine Township. And together, these aren't statewide now, but together they have a little over $250 million in Illinois funds right now, including some organizations you may be familiar with. I don't want to start a rivalry here with Niles. I don't want to Michigan Ohio State thing happening, but they have some money with us. So other townships like Oak Park and Proviso also have significant sums with Illinois funds. Now, with many organizations, with many governments, we're just a portion of their fuller investment picture. They may buy treasury notes directly and hold them directly. Pension funds, they have much longer investment horizons. And so they have to think about, and they are by statute allowed to do things that other local governments can't do, like buy equities. And so those pension funds may look at something like Illinois funds as, hey, this is just a place where we're getting our money from our participating governments. As that money comes in, we'll hold it here for a quick month until it's time to invest it. Or we know we have annuitants that we have to pay out. We sell a security, we sell an issue. We sit it in Illinois funds for a few weeks until it's time to disperse. Okay, all right. So I mentioned some of the numbers are a little bit around the ways here, but looking at our end-of-year portfolio balance, since 2015, for over 20 years, this fund floated between $4 to $6 billion, roughly, and then it grew tremendously, starting with the monies that were sent down as part of COVID relief and the like. Much of that ended up going into the state accounts. As I mentioned, state accounts historically made up about a quarter of the fund's full portfolio. Well, now it's well over half. This number is as of end of, I want to say October. No, this is end of November. Again, this gives a sense, this chart here on the right gives a sense of how the funds are allocated. What are we doing with that $18 billion? Some of the limits are set by the SEC. Some of the limits are set by the ratings agency. Hey, you can't invest more than a third of your portfolio in bonds. You can't invest more than 10% in treasury, so on and so forth. So we try to make sure that we're meeting all of those requirements, and we test ourselves every week. Weekly stress tests. Every couple of weeks, our ratings agency, Fitch in this case, they want that report. They want to see, how are you doing? How are you measuring up? What happens if interest rates move up by 100 basis points? Basis points, parenthetically, 100 basis points equals 1%. So many times it's easier, especially when the interest rate environment was very low. It's easy to talk in terms of basis points rather than percent. But the ratings agencies very much wanting to make sure that we are able to, should a large participant, like the RTA or Chicago Park District, if they decide to pull out all of their money and rebuild Soldier Field, what would happen to the fund? Would the fund be able to handle a withdrawal of that size? What happens if the Federal Reserve meets next month and decides to raise interest rates? Or what happens if they decide to cut interest rates? How does the fund, how are they able to meet that challenge? I will one day learn how this is. And so over the last,
Mr. Harry.
please, I'm sorry, interrupt me anytime.
I know that some people have some questions too, so and we've got a number of things on our agenda, so I would like you to hit, some of the major points, but leave some little time for questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is my last sort of major slide.
Oh, go ahead, please.
And it's just graphically taking a look at what has happened over the last year in terms of interest rates and interest income, how that has performed over the last year, where a couple of years ago, we would have been lucky to get $1 million a month, and now we're regularly over $80 million per month in interest income. That's a combination of the size of the full portfolio, as well as the little more generous interest rate environment. But we can't sit on that alone, and we have to be prepared for a couple of things. We have to be prepared for a possible rate cut over the next year. We have to also be prepared for many of our participants, including the state, actually starting to draw down their money, because they're not just sitting on this money just to sit on it. They, especially if it's COVID relief funds, they have to spend it. There are requirements from the U.S. Treasury Department that they have to spend this money by, or at least start allocating it by 2026. And so we are also anticipating that we will see an eventual decline in the full size of the portfolio. This is a measure, and all these statistics, they're all on the Treasurer's open data portal on the website, illinoistreasurer.gov. You have a link to it. You can find all of this information. It looks slightly different, but you can find all of this information and more. The benchmarks, again, we just measure ourselves against, we look at our actual portfolio, and we take that ratio, the ratios that we have, and we compare it against the indices of the very issues that we're carrying in the same ratio, and then we measure ourselves against that. Everything else is just FAQs, so I'll try to answer as many FAQs as I can.
Okay.
Please.
Thank you very much. So we have a township policy that provides that the township supervisor will have the responsibility to select which financial institutions will be depositories for the township funds. And I don't want to shirk that responsibility, but I want to give all my board members the opportunity to ask whatever questions they have, along with the other elected officials, to ensure that, they understand what it is, they're comfortable with it, and so forth. And they might be still mulling this over, but does anyone have any questions right now?
So I just want to make sure I understood what you were thinking. That if you draw down on the fund, there's no penalty for early withdrawal? No fees, no? Okay.
No. By keeping a stable net asset value of $1, that makes it easy for us to calculate, okay, $1 in, $1 out. And because of the size of the fund and because of both our own policies with regard to how we manage the fund, we don't have a need for things like redemption fees and gates and limits of any form.
Who did you say manages the fund? Did you say Fitch?
No, Fitch is the rating agency. So
Okay,
just as individuals, we all have a credit score.
yeah,
The nationally recognized statistical rating agencies, Moody's, S&P, Fitch, one or more of the three can evaluate any fund. And we use Fitch. We were using S&P, and we switched a few years ago to Fitch. And their reports, their reviews are available publicly, and we link to those on our website as well.
so the agency actually does the management of funds, picking
Correct.
the investment choices?
Correct. We could outsource all of that to investment advisors, but we have a couple of good investment advisors that don't need to get paid a lot and are willing to work on state salary.
So it kind of brings to mind a couple of years ago when the college fund, when the people had invested money in the college fund.
Which college fund? There were multiple college funds.
The one that didn't do so well.
Yeah, that was,
Going back like
so
15
one
years.
is managed by, or managed through Illinois Student Assistance Commission, ISAC, and there's another that's managed through the State Treasurer's Office.
The one that was under Alexi Janulius at the time, I think.
So that would have been the State Treasurer, but that actually, there's a lot of confusion. That was actually the other plan through ISAC.
Okay,
Because that happens with us as well.
Okay.
People confuse Illinois funds, which is a local government investment pool, with another pool, another local government investment pool, that did have a problem of one of their advisors had made purchases that ended up becoming fraudulent. And so they ended up losing quite a bit. Municipalities were able to get some of the money back, but that was someone else's fund. That was not Illinois funds.
yeah, but the one with the college fund where, it was a specific one where parents were saving money through the Illinois College Fund for their students.
Right, through ISAC.
And then when it came time to send them to
Right,
school.
because it was structured differently. The other issue is it was structured differently.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at.
Right.
How do we,
That was, so I'm making both the distinction of who is managing it, that
Okay.
is in this case ISAC, as well as how it's structured. There's a structure more like a bond,
okay,
where the college savings program that are managed by the programs that are managed by the state treasurer's office are much more, they're 529. They literally
The
come from the
529.
529 fund.
yes.
So that's different. That's college savings.
I know it's different, but it's the same, it's still under the treasury, so. I'm
No,
kinda
it's,
like-
again, it's not. ISAC is actually, it's an executive branch agency.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with the treasurer's office. It's actually managed by the governor's office.
Okay,
So I really want you to be clear.
okay,
Different.
yep, that's why I'm asking.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, any other questions?
I had a quick question.
Yes, sir.
This particular fund we're talking about, the people who make the decision, let's say we were to choose to invest in this particular pool, the people who make the money decisions on a day-to-day basis are employees of U.S. Bank or Fund Services? Is
No,
that right?
they're employees of the state treasury.
Very good. So when you say they're the custodian.
So the custodian is a little bit
I see.
where the money is held, where the physical.
I see.
So since we don't have certain legal authorities, we're not a bank. We don't have depository authority, so we have to contract to a depository or who can actually literally hold the funds.
Thank you. And the decision maker one more time is the state of Illinois?
State Treasurer's Office.
Thank you. And second question, you have an interesting comment that there's a limit on what percentage of a fund can be invested in a particular vehicle. Okay, I think that's what you said. Is that because these are government agencies that were related somehow?
So the SEC the local government investment pools have, like I said, existed since the early 70s.
Okay.
Well, there have been cases, some much more infamous than others, but there have been cases where either the net asset value of the fund has fallen under the dollar threshold. You actually get sort of a window, and theirs fell very much underneath it. That's what's called breaking the buck. You also had funds that went bankrupt because what they were investing in. They were investing in very esoteric products, whether it was Orange County investing in mortgage-backed securities, or the state of Florida investing in mortgage-backed securities. They seem to always keep popping up. I don't know. But so the SEC, the regulators, as well as the regulators of 2A7 funds, as well as the credit rating agencies. That's why they're watching to see what is your asset allocation like, because they want to make sure that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, and you're not putting all your money in an instrument that all of a sudden interest rates go up or go down. Now,
So it's something that applies to government. It's not private people can do whatever they want with their money, right? This is private industry.
well, all right. So local governments that are subject to Public Funds Investment Act. That's what I would think as a board member. That's what you would be worried about. That there are limits in terms of what you're allowed to invest in, as not limits in terms of your percentages. That's your call. But you can't, for example, use Maine Township funds to invest in a casino or
A business, right?
right.
Private business, okay.
Right.
Okay, I just have one more question. So the depositories are held by U.S. Bank. So okay. So you brought up the Silicon banking. So if, let's say hypothetically, we have our deposits in U.S. Bank being held in the state, and
If something happens to U.S. Bank.
then what? Yeah, what's the?
Well,
because the FDIC is not going to cover that amount of money and
right.
insurance.
So that's part of our due diligence when we're evaluating. In fact, we had to go through this process recently. We had to evaluate those institutions that were seeking to bid to become custodians, and that's part of our evaluation to make sure what are regulators seeing, how are they evaluating how you not just how you handle this type of fund, but how you're handling money. And so that is part of our evaluation tool. We also have analysts, investment analysts that are constantly evaluating the banking sector for Community Reinvestment Act guidelines to make sure banks are meeting those requirements. Any bank that is doing business with the state, there are additional requirements that they're asked to meet and that we evaluate on that as well. So
I work for the Division of Banking for the state, and I work with bank examiners, and this is just curious.
and your agency is one of our participants.
Yeah, I'm wondering, why don't you deposit them in the banks that we regulate, the state, the state regulated banks?
Well,
Just a curiosity, that's all.
can a state-regulated bank, a deposit, can they handle $18 billion?
Well, I mean, Northern Trust, there's big
Yes.
interest? and
They, all they had to do was bid. I
Okay.
can't make somebody bid.
Oh, okay, so they had a bid, it was a bidding
Competition.
process. I'm just asking.
No, that's a great question.
Because they-
I think it's a good question, but
Okay.
I can't make you do a thing you don't want to do.
Right, so you're saying
As
they...
much as we'd love to.
They didn't bid.
Right.
Oh,
They offered a better deal, the
Okay.
bank corporate fund offered a attractive
Thank you.
deal.
Yes, ma'am.
To this-
No, absolutely.
I was going to ask the other side of the table if they wanted to ask any questions, unless you had some more over here.
No, nothing.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks for your time.
thank you.
No, thank you all for working on it.
Can I ask just real quick if we, if our staff have any questions about?
I actually have a question. So, as from like the end user point of view, like people who would be like actually transferring the money and moving funds and
Absolutely.
monitoring it every day.
Thank you for
I know
asking.
that there's an access, account access and a website. Is it all website based? Do we have a designated representative? How does that
You
look from the user
can, you
side?
can go online, and if you're assigned, the principal would more than likely be the supervisor, but the supervisor could authorize certain number of people who have access to simply look at the account or trade on the account. If you're authorized as a trader, you can go online and make those trades, either wiring in or moving money out. You can also call.
Okay.
You can also have a disbursement set up so that it's automatically moving. You don't have to do a manual wire. So there are a couple of different ways that for decades we used to make as part of the requirement that they could go to any bank, participants could go to any bank and make the actual physical deposit right there. That so few participants use that we haven't made that a requirement, although U.S. Bank still allows that.
And do you get like a designated, like let's say you go on and you notice an activity that seems weird, or you have a question, is there a designated rep or is it just like a call center and a different person every time?
So the call center that U.S. Bank maintains, we have staff in Springfield as well that works for us, the treasurer's office, but U.S. Bank also has a call center. The folks that work at the call center are dedicated to Illinois funds.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they're in Milwaukee.
US Bank employees, not necessarily.
Right, it depends on who you call. You
Okay.
might call us in Springfield, or you might end up calling the folks in Milwaukee. But if you get a hold of these folks in Milwaukee, they're dedicated to Illinois funds. So it's not like they're juggling 50 different
Like all the
accounts.
rest of their regular accounts. in
Right,
there. Okay.
right, they're only dealing with Illinois funds.
Yes?
So many years ago, we used to use a sweep account, where Cook County would automatically put the tax dollars in that account, and then from that account, we would transfer some of the money into the current bank that we're using now. And I don't remember honestly if it was Illinois Funds or if it was another bank that we used to use. How, you might have said this at the beginning of your presentation and I missed it, how long has this been around for?
Since 1975.
Oh, okay.
I looked around, I didn't see Maine Township.
Okay, so we might
So
be using another entity?
Yeah, if a local government has an account, maybe they had it back in the 80s, and after 10 years or so, they closed it because they were only using it for, like I said, maybe a capital purchase, and they closed it. We still keep the paperwork. Well, we had interns do a lot of scanning. So we still keep the paperwork, even though you don't have an active account. You can completely close it out, or you can bring it down to zero. We don't require a minimum. So you can have your account, it has nothing in it. So you don't have to reestablish, start it up again. You can just simply bring it down to zero if that's the board's desire, and just let it sit at zero. There's no, you're not paying for it. And we have about 100, of the 1,500, it's like 1,530 participants, about 120 of them have zero balances. And several others had zero balances, now it's like a penny because it's accumulated enough interest.
So if they pull their money out, are you still counting that government entity in the 1,500?
If they didn't close their account, yeah, because they're still there, because we don't know. They may come back and say, yeah, we want to wire $50 million because we just got a, referendum passed. I don't know.
Okay, any other questions from staff or any of the elected officials or any concerns that you have?
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank
Yeah,
you very
appreciate
much.
it.
Appreciate it.
The one question I believe you had was regarding the cost. The cost is actually, there aren't fees that you pay like monthly. It literally comes out of the gross. So that's how we calculate the expenses daily, and the net yield is your net yield. There isn't an additional, well, you have to set aside and pay. The expenses are taken out. It is roughly, on average, a little more than 8 basis points at this point, which is 0.08%. We're going through the rebidding process. We're hoping to get that down to, I can't, yes, and we feel very confident we'll get that down.
And I think you've told us, I think my understanding is there's no fees for transactions of any sort.
No, ma'am.
Putting money in, taking it out,
No, ma'am.
anything like that.
No, ma'am.
And then finally, I don't know that we want to do this, but do you accept deposits directly from the treasurer's office in terms of tax revenues? I don't
Yes.
know, you do, oh, okay, all right.
Yes,
I don't know.
that can be-
Figure it out. Okay,
That can be worked out as well.
all right. Okay, all right. I think that's it. I think we're, we asked all the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
No,
much.
absolutely. I'm happy to answer questions, and
Okay, great.
if you need me to forward any further information, I can send that out tomorrow. My email is really simple, tgary@illinoistreasurer.gov.
Thank you.
Thanks a
And I
lot.
have that too, if anybody needs it. All right, thank you. Okay, while we're, let's see, I think we might as well just go right ahead to new business. Discussion and possible vote on tentative road and bridge budget. So, and this is the tentative budget, which we would be adopting tonight, and then it has to be posted, and then we would pass the final budget later, right? In January, yeah. So did you want to talk about this?
Yeah, just briefly. So in front of you tonight is the road district budget for 2024, 2025. A couple of things I wanted to mention about this budget is we have a large project we're hoping that works out with, we're currently working with some legislators, local legislators, to try to obtain a parcel from the state building off of Harrison so we could do a large drainage project over there, which is very much needed. That's in the works. We haven't made much progress, especially around the holidays, but we're hoping to get something moving forward with that. So we're going to begin surveying that area just to get ahead of the curve on that. And another thing is, I think the board would be pleased, and so will the township residents. We're working on a atlas for unincorporated area with all of the sewers, utilities. So I'm hoping to have our engineering company in mid-year in 2024 to present that to the board. It's a large project we've been working on the last year and a half, so that'll be good. But look over the budget. If there's any questions you have tonight, I'd be happy to answer them. If not, if you're reviewing it over the next month and you have any questions, feel free to email me or call me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
All right. Okay, thanks. Kurt, remind me, I think we do need to pass this as the tentative budget, is that correct?
You can, the big thing is that we just have to make sure that this is available for 30 days and publish the notice.
All right.
It's been in the journal, right? It was in
Yes,
the journal.
Yes.
So the,
Yes, it is.
yeah, so should we sign up with this or not? I don't know.
You don't need to, as long as it's available, then there's no need for a formal vote.
Okay.
Because this can obviously still be changed, the
Yeah.
final action's not until after the 30-day period.
Okay, all right. Now, the 30-day period is something I wanted to mention. So, as you recall, I think it was at our very last meeting, we changed our calendar so that we would meet the last Tuesday of the month instead of the fourth Tuesday of the month. Now, that inadvertently caused another problem, which is that since it is now already the end of, let's see, this, well, I guess this, will this be enough, it won't be enough time to post this budget for 30 days. Let's see, will it? No. Anyway, help me with this. I think
This is for the Maine Township, not the.
it's not gonna be, oh, that's right, we could maybe
They're
move
gonna
the
do
meeting
it,
up. We have to hold it in January 30th for purposes of the highway budget.
Yes.
So we have to stay on January 30th for purposes of making sure the highway budget is posted for 30 days. Now, the township itself has not yet passed a tentative budget. We have until the end of the first quarter of our fiscal year. So we've got plenty of time, but if we passed our tentative budget on January 30th, if you count off 30 days won't be over by the time our next meeting on February 27th. And the reason this happened is because we pushed this meeting back a week and did not hold it on the fourth Tuesday. So what that means is our next regularly scheduled meeting, February 27th, won't be soon enough. Or it's too soon, we won't have time for that 30 days. So what I'd like you to do is look at your calendars, please. And either special meeting
I
or
don't have
just
mine, sorry.
move the regular meeting.
I'm unprepared.
Okay, well.
Teacher, sorry.
All right, let's,
It's my car though, I can get.
oh,
Can we
okay.
just move it back a week to March 5th? Is that too?
That might be crunching it. If we moved it to 2 days, we moved it from February 27th to February 29th, Thursday, instead of a Tuesday, that would give us enough time. That would give us enough time to pass that, to post it.
Luckily, it's leap year.
Luckily, yes. We got next day.
Works for me.
So, do you think that the Thursday, the 29th of February, will work for you?
Fine by me.
It's actually better.
All right? Okay, all
It's a board
right.
meeting, right?
Yes, it would be our regular board meeting.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
we
should be
would, my suggestion is we eliminate the meeting on the 27th, which is a Tuesday, and instead meet 2 days later on February 29th.
So like this week, like just like tonight.
Right.
Tonight.
We moved in 2 days.
Okay, all right, so if everyone would please make a note of that. And Liz, I see you out there, would you remind Susan, would you tell Susan
I'll
about?
text her right now.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, so I think that's all that we need to do with respect to the road and bridge budget. We're good with that. All right, so now discussion and possible vote on the funding agency application. Is Evan here? No, I don't think. Richard? Someone here to talk to us about this?
Good evening, everyone.
Richard.
We met as staff members about 2 weeks ago on the 15th of December to look at the averages for both staff and elected officials. And we came up with consensus recommendations that are in your board packet for the amounts that we were recommending each organization funding should receive. So tonight you can choose to pass those or make any corrections or changes that you like.
So Richard, we have a legal size sheet that says 24-25 agency funding recommendations. And at the bottom right corner is the total consensus recommendation, and above it are the consensus for each one of the agencies.
That's right.
Would you just walk us through again, how is that consensus reached? Just sort of remind us of the process of how that was done.
Sure. In general, for most of them, we're just rounding off to a pretty even number. In cases where we felt strongly in support of an organization, we gave maybe a little bit more of a bump. Others where we maybe didn't feel as strongly, kind of lowered that. But by and large, it's averaging out to numbers that are easier to account for rather than the pure averages.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the funding agency allocation as indicated on this chart in front of us?
So moved. Second.
All right, now that this motion's on the table, do we have any questions, comments?
My question is, does Richard have anything to add, or any of the employees of any of these agencies that you think we missed? It looks like the employee average and the board average is very close.
Yeah.
So we're all on the same page a lot of us think. So,
It was very close, yes.
okay. All right. So no, all right.
Nothing to add.
Okay, nothing to add. All right. That was my question.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, have a roll call.
Supervisor Diamond?
Yes?
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Horvath?
Yes.
Trustee Maher?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. The next item is something that was suggested by our highway commissioner, and one of our trustees asked that it be placed on the agenda, and it is there. So this is regarding the current township reimbursement policy. Ed, did you want to talk about this, or where your suggestion came from? Or?
Sure. Yeah, since we're fresh off the trip to Springfield, I was reviewing this, and one of the things that I didn't see in here was anything that shows what we were supposed to do if there was no receipt available. That happened to me with one of the places that I went for a meal. She was unable to print the receipt. Now, I paid with cash, but I guess looking back, I could have just charged the credit card and then taken a picture of the credit card invoice. But I noticed that it didn't say anything in here about not having, if you don't have a receipt. And also, I just wanted to see how the board felt about just issuing a per diem per day based on when you would go down to, how long you stayed in Springfield.
Yeah, that's how the state does it, you just get a flat rate.
I know we've done that in the past,
Yeah.
too.
We just do flat rate.
Okay, I mean, I think our staff would probably be happy not to handle all those little receipts that come in. So we could amend our policy to just provide for a flat rate. You do have the policy in front of you right now, and it does state that if you have a flat rate, it would be reduced by any meals that are provided by the at the conference. For instance, we went to breakfast, and I know the township paid $25 for us to go to breakfast. So the reimbursement would be reduced by that, I presume, under our policy. And we also got breakfast and lunch at the conference on Monday, I guess. So just to understand where we're going, is that what we're thinking?
I just wanted to bring it up for board discussion.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good question, because it is sort of a hassle to collect all these little pieces of paper and turn them in, and if it's just a flat rate, again, the part of the policy that's in there right now says the flat rate should be reduced if you get some meals provided, or if it's only a half day, like if if you're traveling days. I don't really care how it be reworded. I didn't draft anything because I didn't know what the board wanted to do. I can draft something.
I guess we could approve a per diem under this provision of the policy without having to amend it. because it says unless the supervisor, board of trustees approve a greater amount,
Uh-huh.
we could just say that before the conference next year, the board just approves what that per diem is going to be,
Okay.
without having to amend the policy each time.
I
Because I think that's more for employees and this is more for
actually,
officials, right?
it does say the township will reimburse employee and officer travel, so I think
Yeah.
that does apply to, there is a requirement in here somewhere about receipts, so maybe I should delete that. And, yeah, documentation of expense. So, let me look at this and see if I need to cross out or suggest that we cross out some of that verbiage to make it clear that we don't need that and what the township amount should be. Now, this policy, which you see in here, had set it at $75 per day. When was that? That was in
2017.
okay, all right. So does anyone have any other thoughts about how you would like to see a draft amendment look?
Well, for every time I've ever traveled for work, we usually would go to the gsa.gov website and you punch in where you're going, and it gives you a very specific per diem rate for that state or that city, and that's what I've always been used to. I always felt that that was pretty fair, and it will actually break it down into sort of give you an idea of breakfast, lunch, dinner. And then it tells you if it's like a travel day, it has the amount, so it sort of takes care of all of that for you. And it's usually pretty, I felt like it's actually more than I've ever spent. Like it's pretty accurate. But I've also, with that, I've still always had to do receipts and provide receipts and stuff too.
Oh, you did?
And just got reimbursed for what I gave for receipts, so.
What was that website?
GSA.gov, because that's actually where it's the General Services Administration, and that's where you can see the mileage, it's 65 cents a mile and all of that stuff, but they have the per diem rates for travel. So that's what I've always used.
Okay.
So the state breaks it down in quarters.
Quarters?
Yeah, so if you spend the night, it's, $44. It's just straight $44. But, if you're traveling, you start at 5:55 a.m. and then you go till, then it goes from 6 a.m. to noon to 6 p.m. It goes from midnight to 6. 6/12, 6/12. So it's quarters. So they break it down that way. But if you go more than 12 hours, you get an automatic full day. There's no receipts. Oh, you have a receipt for your hotel, of course.
Yeah.
And you have to keep track of your mileage with MapQuest, but you don't have to get food receipts and beverage.
Well, I don't care, what we do. I would sort of like to get rid of collecting little receipts.
I don't mind that. I just think that maybe using this website as a guide for the per diem, if you're going to.
Okay, so the policy would refer to this?
Possibly, if that's what, if other people were okay with that.
All right.
The one thing I will say about that is I have found that their meal rates and everything seem more than adequate, but their hotel rates seem to be a little low. So I think I wouldn't want to restrict people to, for example, I had to go to a conference in Indianapolis in November, and the only hotels I could get were $200, but they said it was $150. So it was I'm not going to be able to do that. So as long as it doesn't, restrict people from getting what they need.
In the past, we've always just done the per diem more for food and.
Yeah, that's what I would do. The hotel, especially if you're going to a conference, you usually stay at the hotel where the conference is, you get a conference rate. But I think for meals, it's just a good guide.
Okay. All right, I'll try and come up with something. We might have to go through a few drafts, I don't know.
Well, we did used to just do a flat rate.
Here?
Yeah,
Oh,
here.
Yeah, for several years, that's the way we did it.
all right.
If most people are not traveling out of state, then maybe it's not a big deal. You could look at what the Illinois per diem rates are, as a guide.
$44.
But if we're not sending people to California, we're not sending people to,
Right.
you know, Florida, so.
Okay, all right. Anyone else? Anyone want to say anything else about that?
Not that I
My comment is, we should just keep in mind the employees. It seems to me they're the ones that are going to be affected by this, not trustees traveling. So I don't consider myself going to be seeking compensation for travel and lodging, but whatever employees in the township are most likely to be using this, keep in mind their preference.
Okay, all right.
That's the only comment.
All right, okay. You know, I have down here discussion of possible vote. I don't think we're ready to vote on it though, so we'll kick this over to next month. All right, and the next item was one that you, Jim, requested to be placed on here, enabling it regarding the proposed hiring of additional employees, either full or part-time, in discussion of specific employee salaries. And you asked me to put it on the general agenda here. What did you want to discuss?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Karen, for putting this on the agenda. I appreciate that. I have two handouts I'd like to refer to. One is a 2-page document that everyone should have in front of them. First page says Township Officials of Illinois.
I'm sorry, I have a 2-page one, and where's the other one?
Yeah, well, we're still at, that's the one, you got it, 2 pages. That's the first one. The first one is a 2-page document. Page 1, Karen, says Township Officials of Illinois, and then there's attached to it is a salary comparison that I did off the internet. That's a 2-page document. And then the second document is something that came with our packet, which is something Dana, I think you prepared, I guess, for us, for administration, Maine Township General Town Fund. That's a statistical survey of amounts that we took in. It looks like from March to November of this year, I presume. And then the second page is a statement as to what was paid for salaries. Line 1 of page 2 says salaries, gross pay account. And then, so talking about the first document.
Oh, okay, first document, the 2-page document?
Right, yes,
Okay.
thank you, Karen. In the middle of the document says, by law, Illinois townships are charged with 3 basic functions. Number 1, general assistance for the indigent. 2, the assessment of real property for the basis of local taxation and maintenance of all roads and bridges. It seems to me that Eddie is our expert on roads and bridges and Susan is our expert on real estate property. So the only one of those 3 that I as a trustee have any impact on, in my opinion, is helping the indigent. Right? How does general assistance for the indigent is the one statutory purpose in the Illinois law that we're created to fulfill. So on my second page, I picked 2 departments which in my opinion are most closely associated with helping the indigent. General assistance and the food pantry. Now, you could probably argue that Marty's department is also, they help disabled people, and Richard, of course, and Marie as well, because those are all statutory purposes as well, helping disabled people and helping the elderly. But the ones I focused on here are because their stats are available on the internet as to what the directors of each of these agencies earns per year. When I first got elected, I was notified of a survey that was done by a prior board before we were elected, where they were analyzing the salaries of the employees of Maine Township, and the survey clearly showed that we are underpaid as a township, that many of our employees are underpaid compared to statistically similar employees of other townships. And we tried to move on that a little bit. We're a first-time board during our salary discussions, but I personally thought there was some miscommunication. We did work as well as we could in evaluating employee salaries. And I think what we ended up doing was a 3% overall increase across the board. And we selected certain people that got more than that. But I still think we did not do a good enough job of equalizing our salaries, which I think is an important part of what we do, make sure our employees are getting paid before we spend money on investments and internet improvements and marketing and all these other things that arguably are not as important as paying our key people. Moving to the first category, food pantry, I took 8 different townships and I found out who was the director of each of those townships, and as you can see, of the 8 listed, including Maine Township, the average salary is $69,705, and our food pantry director makes $48,044. I then took general assistants, because each one of these townships had a general assistance director, and in 2023, our current general assistance director, I believe, is Ms. Savini. Is it Kathy Savini? $65,777, and prior to that, it was Austin Kelso. And as you can see, if you take all these 8 townships, the average salary for a director of general assistance is $75,668. So you could make a reasonable argument that both of our directors are underpaid comparatively to other townships. Now, the second printout I'd like you to look at, on the first page that Dana prepared for us, if you look at total revenues, you've got a total of $2,879,144 as the total revenue, presumably, that was taken in the period March to November, presumably this year. And then if you look at that second page, I would look at the very top document, the very top of the list that says salaries, gross pay. And we've got $469,220.60 was allocated for salaries, which, if my math is correct, I'm a lawyer, not a doctor or a mathematician, but it's like 16% of that sum went to salaries. So what I would like to try to do in the future is compare what percentage of our revenue we allocate to our salaries compared to other townships, and see if we're, if 16% is not adequate or does not compare favorably to other townships. And so that was my purpose in bringing this to the attention of the board. I think it's something that's important. We need to reconsider salaries across the board. I think that's an issue that we have to resolve because it continues to be a problem. And if we have the money to pay our people, we have to do something about that as soon as we can. So thank you for your time.
Okay, all right, Jim. And we know we usually go over salaries in the spring, and I imagine we will be doing that again this year as we have in the past. I know the information that you collected here is of interest. I do know that other employees think their salaries should be raised too. So we'll have to look at all those pieces of information when we do that. Okay. All right. I guess we are at official reports right now, and Susan's not here, but I will start with Ed.
Just wanted to say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Ed, I think it's been since we last met that you did the toy drive, right?
Yeah, we did the toy drive. Thanks, by the way, for everybody coming out. We had over a couple hundred toys that were donated. And overall, I think they collected a lot at the Niles location. So, always a successful event and happy to participate. Once again, thanks for everyone for coming out to support.
We didn't get snowed on.
Yeah.
Thank you for organizing that.
I just want to take a quick moment to read a card that was mailed to me the other day that I opened up and it made me smile. It said, Peter, recently my wife and I came to your office to renew our reduced fare cards. We were assisted by a young lady, Jessica, from at your front desk. She could not have been more cooperative in explaining the process, the length of time to get the cards. He helped us fill out the forms and took our pictures. Sorry, it's a little hard to read. Took our pictures. So cordial and friendly. I want to let you know what a terrific person you have there, and she should be complimented. It was a real pleasure to work with her, an asset to your office. Happy holidays and the best in 2024, Mike Brennan. So again, I've said it a million times before, but I've got a great staff, and it really made me happy that some of the township residents acknowledge that as well. That's all. And Happy New Year to everybody.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'll jump down to Asif.
Oh, okay. Happy holiday and Happy New Year to everyone.
Okay, all right. Jim?
I forgot to mention, my own proposal, I missed my last phrase, the hiring of possible new employees. One of the reasons I brought this to the board's attention is the food pantry has one employee and one employee only full time. We can't have one employee in a large department. It's unacceptable. We have to hire someone immediately, and it shouldn't be part-time. He has to have another employee working. What if he gets sick? What if he's, can't be at work for a while? We have to have another employee, and at least one more full-time employee in the food pantry. So sorry, I forgot about that. Happy New Year, everyone. Or maybe I'll have come out of senility in the new year and read my own agenda.
Well, just to respond to that, I have asked Nick twice if he wants a full-time employee, and he says, no, he wants a part-time employee. So I just think, let you know that, that's what he tells me, so. All right, did you have anything else you wanted to report?
Ask him again, see if he said it.
About this month or anything? Did you want to report anything else?
No, I was at Eddie's event, that was great. Good job, Eddie.
All right.
And Happy New Year, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks.
Kelly?
Yeah, it just has been a busy month for all of us. Eddie had his toy drive. Several of us went and visited Maine Township to look at some things that they had there with transportation. Kim and Karen and I went to the hospital. These are generally the mainstreamers to decorate holiday trees, Christmas trees, which was really fun. And then all of us were at the mainstreamers holiday luncheon, which I look forward to every year. It was really nice. So it's just been a nice month. So.
Okay, all right, thank you. Kim, would you like to talk about it?
Yes, so not to be redundant.
Sorry, I
I'll just echo what Kelly said and remind everybody, once again, the first Wednesday of the month at 7 o'clock we have Neighborhood Watch. So extending an invitation to all of our residents and hope you can come, find out, talk to the sheriff, talk to the fire department, and ask any other questions or present any concerns that you have. It's a really good time to meet and get an update on what's happening in the neighborhood and in the township. And I wish everybody a healthy, happy, and prosperous new year in 2024. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kim. And would you like to recite those dates? If anybody want to jot them down for Neighborhood Watch?
So
January 3rd.
February 5th, right? And I think it was March 6th. It's the first Wednesday of every month.
Okay, all right. As everyone mentioned, we had a busy month. Another thing that I did was go to the Golf Mill food drive. It was on Saturday. I sat there at the table, and had a band and usually collected food for the pantry. So I think that's it. We have a few things coming up. Hopefully the blood drive will go on the 12th, the holiday lights recycling. We probably will not be able to recycle styrofoam. I think they took that off. And then we
Did you
have
have a calendar this month, John? I didn't see my calendar, my January calendar.
Yeah, it's in there.
Oh, awesome.
Agenda.
On the agenda, okay, yeah. Normally they give us a really nice colorful calendar.
Yeah, that was.
What happened?
that's in your folder.
Oh, there it is. That's a calendar. That's what I was looking for.
okay.
All right, thank you. Refer to that.
Okay, so I think we're done with official reports. And now it's time for closed session. Do I have a motion to go into closed or executive session for the purpose of three things? One, litigation, which is prevalent or imminent. Two, security procedures, and the use of personnel and equipment to respond to an actual, a threatened, or potentially, reasonably potential danger to the safety of employees, students, staff, the public, or public property. And three, discussing the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees. Do I have a motion to go into closed session for those purposes?
So moved. Second.
Okay. I don't think we have any discussion on that.
Roll call.
Okay, roll call, please.
Supervisor Adams?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Horvath?
Yes.
Trustee Maher?
Yes.
Trustee Malik?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. There's a possibility